My name tag said Parasite at the family reunion. My mom just smirked and agreed. When I spotted the word Parasite scribbled across my name tag at the family reunion, my mom just gave a casual shrug. She looked right at me and said, "Well, that's what you are." I stood up calmly and told her that the payment I made last month was going to be my last. A few days later, the IRS came barging in like they were kicking down a door. Before I continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and comment, you will help me a lot. So, my full name is Lily Cooper. I'm 37 years old now, and I work as a financial analyst right in the bustling heart of Manhattan. The city's always loud and crowded, but it's where I built my career. I've been moving up the ladder at a steady pace, and just last year, I finally checked off a big goal. I bought a condo I'd been dreaming about for what felt like forever. To most folks, I probably look like someone who's got her life together. But anytime I'm around my family, especially during reunions, I feel like I'm yanked back to being that stubborn 15-year-old kid again. That feeling hits hardest whenever my mom turns her sharp gaze on me and starts picking me apart. Back when I was just shy of 12, my parents went through a rough, messy divorce. Turns out, my dad had been cheating with none other than my mom's closest friend. The irony of it all still stings. The day that ugly truth came out, my mom completely fell apart. She cried out loud, yelling through the house like her heart was breaking right in front of me. For days afterward, she locked herself in her room and barely touched a single bite of food. Back then, people used to comment on how much I resembled my dad. We had the same kind of nose, similar brows, even laughed alike. It was something everyone noticed, especially after the divorce. I always had this gut feeling that every time my mom looked at me, she couldn't help but see the man who shattered her life. Even as a kid, I could pick up on the quiet pain hiding in her eyes. "Lily, you really look just like your father," she'd say often. But it never came out warm or affectionate. There was always this cold edge to it, a bitterness she couldn't hide. Once the divorce was settled, my dad packed up and moved far away. At first, we still saw each other once a month, but as time passed, those visits faded out. Now, we just send each other birthday cards once a year, and that's about it. When I turned 16, my mom got married again. Her new husband, Jake Thompson, had a son from a previous relationship. His name was Ethan Parker. Ethan Parker was 2 years older than me, and after he graduated high school, he spent a couple of years bouncing between odd jobs, saying he was finding himself. Eventually, both of us ended up in college the same year. He started at a local community college, while I enrolled in a public university and studied economics. He got a scholarship to help cover his tuition, which widened the already growing emotional gap between us. After I finished school, I landed a job at a financial firm on Wall Street. Ethan Parker, meanwhile, found work at a small real estate office not far from mine. When Mom and Jake Thompson hit some rough financial patches in their retirement years, Ethan Parker and I agreed to chip in and help. I started sending them $2,000 each month, while Ethan Parker contributed $400. But here's the kicker: behind my back, Ethan Parker told my mom he was the one sending the whole amount, and she bought it completely without even questioning it. Even after I tried explaining the truth, that most of the money was from me, she just shook her head. She kept insisting, Ethan Parker would never lie like that. At first, it didn't bother me too much. I wasn't doing it for recognition, I just wanted to support her. But with time, the unfairness of it started to wear on me. It stung, quietly but deeply, every time a new money crisis popped up. Whenever something broke down or a surprise bill hit, she'd call both of us. "Lily, my car's dead and I can't afford the repairs." "Lily, the doctor's bills came out of nowhere." "Everly, the roof's leaking again." And no matter how much I helped, those conversations always ended the same way. She'd say, "Ethan Parker took care of it. She's so lucky to have such a wonderful son," she'd say. It never seemed to matter how much I gave or how hard I tried. Talking to Ethan Parker didn't change anything either. He just shrugged and said, "That's what Mom wants to believe," like it was out of his hands. Still, I kept sending the money. I stayed quiet and tried to keep reminding myself that I wasn't doing it for praise or love. This wasn't about winning her over, it was about doing what felt right, or at least what I thought was right. But today might be one of those rare days that shifts everything. It could end up being one of the most important days of my entire life. My palms are sweaty, and I've been gripping the steering wheel so tightly in the back seat that my fingers ache a little. A bottle of wine clinks softly every time I brake or hit a red light, and the uneven sound matches the erratic thump of my heartbeat. I'm only about 10 minutes away now, driving out to my mom's house in the quiet suburbs just outside New York City. I pull in a slow breath, trying to steady myself emotionally, knowing what's waiting for me. It's a big family event today, the kind that only happens once a year. Relatives are flying in from all over for this gathering. And it's the first time I've shown my face at one of these in 3 years. The last time I was here was when we threw a party for my mom's 60th birthday, Grace's big milestone. That day ended up being one of the most uncomfortable, emotionally draining days I can remember. All those memories are rushing back now, crowding my mind like they never really left. Back then, I was casually talking about a major project I had just wrapped up in Manhattan, something I was genuinely proud of. But right in the middle of my story, my mom cut me off. She looked at me and said, "Lily, you always talk about yourself. Do you ever stop to think how Ethan Parker might feel?" I froze, didn't know how to respond. Then Jake Thompson, like he was piling on, added, "She's always been that way. It's nothing new, always thinking about herself." In that moment, I felt like a spotlight was on me, and not in a good way. Ashamed. Exposed. Alone. Ethan Parker, of course, stepped in with his usual calm voice and said, "It's okay, Mom," like I had somehow hurt her just by being there. Now, pulling up to the house, I see several cars already lined up outside. I find the farthest open space and park, then grab the wine bottle I brought with me as a kind of peace offering. I glance at myself in the rearview mirror. My beige dress is wrinkle-free and my black sweater sits just right. I smooth both down and fix my posture. I'd spent extra time on my hair this morning, straightening it into a sharp, clean bob. But the wind's gotten to it a bit, leaving a few strands out of place. I take a slow, steady breath and head toward the door. Even from the outside, I can hear the sounds of laughter and conversation spilling out from inside. When I step in, I'm greeted by a flurry of activity, kids darting around, adults laughing a little too loudly from the living room. It's the kind of chaotic warmth that should feel comforting, but somehow always leaves me cold. My mom appears in the hallway and says, "Oh, Lily, you actually came," like she genuinely didn't think I would show. Her voice is laced with surprise, but not the pleasant kind. It felt like she'd only invited me out of politeness, expecting I'd bail for work like always. I replied simply, "Yeah, Jake Thompson sent the invite," and gave her a small smile. "I brought this," I added, holding out the bottle of wine. She took it without much expression and muttered, "Thanks." Then she pointed down the hall and said, "Everyone's already inside. Your name tag's on the table by the door," before turning and heading straight back to the kitchen. Her reaction was just about as distant as I figured it would be. I walked over to the little table by the entryway where the name tags were lined up neatly. I searched through them until I found mine. And then my stomach dropped. The tag read Lily Cooper, but just below that, in smaller, scribbled handwriting, someone had written the word Parasite. At first, I thought maybe it was some dumb joke, maybe a cousin trying to be funny. But the handwriting was unmistakable. It was my mom's. I just stood there, frozen, staring at it. I didn't move, didn't speak. I was too stunned. Then I heard a voice behind me. "Hey, Lily." I turned and saw Ethan Parker wearing his standard getup, a pale blue button-up and khakis, like he was playing it safe as usual. "It's been a while," I said. He nodded, giving me a mild smile. "The housing market's a mess right now," he replied, "but I'm doing all right." Ethan Parker's eyes drifted to the name tag in my hand, and for a moment, something shifted in his face, like a flicker of guilt passed through him. "So, is this supposed to be some kind of joke from Mom?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level, like it didn't bother me. But it did. He gave one of those useless shrugs. "She's been kinda moody lately, especially when she's had a few drinks." I nodded, not saying anything at first, just staring at that little piece of paper with Parasite scribbled under my name. And just like that, all the old emotions, the isolation, the resentment came rushing back in, uninvited and unwelcome. I remembered all those times I brought home good grades, proud and hoping she'd be even a little happy for me. She'd just say, "That's what I expect from you." When I got the scholarship to college, all she said was, "Well, that saves us money." Later, when I told her about getting promoted at work, she didn't even acknowledge it, just pivoted right to Ethan Parker. "He'll be a manager soon, too," she said like that, somehow canceled out my news. Not once, not a single time had she ever said, "I'm proud of you." Not for anything. I inhaled slowly. Something in me finally shifted. I could feel it. This day wasn't going to be like the others. I hit my limit. I was done pretending. "You okay?" Ethan Parker asked, probably sensing something was different. "I'm good," I replied with a tight little smile. "Come on. Let's go say hi to everyone." The living room was packed. About 20 relatives scattered around, catching up over drinks and finger food. Uncles, aunts, cousins. Some I hadn't seen in forever. I went around greeting each of them politely, nodding and smiling, playing the part one always played. "Lily, look at you. Such a beautiful young woman now. I heard you're in finance? That's impressive. So, when are you getting married? You're about that age now, right?" All the usual family reunion questions. I answered them with the same smile I'd used for years. By then, I had slipped the name tag into my purse, hiding it away like it never happened. When dinner was finally served, we all gathered around the long table. Food was passed around in big platters, plates clinked, and conversation picked up again. And of course, right on cue, my mom started boasting about Ethan Parker. Ethan Parker closed on the biggest house in the area last month, she said proudly. The commission he made was incredible. Ethan Parker just gave a sheepish smile and said, "It was all right. He's always been so modest," she added with a glow in her voice. "Oh, and he joined a gym. He's finally getting into shape." I stayed quiet and kept chewing. Nothing new. I'd heard it all before. I'd spent years trying to earn even a fraction of that praise, telling myself I didn't need it, that it didn't matter anymore. But if I was being honest with myself, I wasn't sure that was true. Then someone asked, "So how about you, Lily? How's life in Manhattan? And how's Georgia?" I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could even get a word out, my mom jumped in again. "She's always working," she said flatly. "Can barely get her to answer the phone." I tried to explain. "It's just, investment banking's a high-pressure job. But I like it." I didn't get to finish that thought either. "Must be nice," she said, setting her glass down a little too hard. "You must be rich now." Then, with a tone that cut deep, she added, "But I guess you're too busy making money to think about your family, huh?" The room went quiet. "I mean, that's not really true," I began, but before I could say anything else, she stood up quickly. "Oh, I forgot about dessert," she announced, heading off to the kitchen. Ethan Parker gave me a look, that sympathetic kind of glance, like he was sorry for me. But I didn't buy it. He was part of this too. He had let it all happen for years. When dessert and coffee were brought out, Jake Thompson stood up and raised his glass, calling for everyone's attention. "I just want to say how happy I am that everyone made it here today," he said, "especially those who traveled far." He made a short speech about family, how important it is to stay connected. Then, right on schedule, he started praising Ethan Parker again, congratulating him on his recent real estate win. Everyone clapped politely, but he didn't say a single word about me, not even a mention. As the clapping died down, I stood up slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. "Mind if I say something?" I asked. My mom looked over, surprised. I wasn't known for speaking up at these things. "Sure," Jake Thompson said, lowering himself back into his seat, clearly confused. I picked up my wine glass and took a deep, grounding breath. "Thanks for coming, everyone." I started, looking around the table. "It's really good to see so many familiar faces again. It's been a long time." I raised my glass a little, steadying my voice. "The last family gathering I came to was 3 years ago. And honestly, a lot has changed since then. I got promoted recently," I said, holding my wine glass steady. "Bought a place that actually feels like home. And for the first time in my life, I felt proud of myself." The room went still. Every pair of eyes was on me. My mom sat stiffly, clutching her coffee cup like it was anchoring her. "But there's something that hasn't changed," I continued, the words coming easier now. "I still feel like an outsider every time I step foot in this house." The tension in the air thickened. Today, when I arrived, I picked up my name tag from the table by the front door. I reached into my purse and pulled it out, laying it gently on the table in front of everyone. Under my name, someone had written Parasite. A few people leaned in to get a better look. Someone audibly gasped. Eyes flicked between me and the tag. A cousin shook her head in disbelief. At first, I was hurt, I admitted. But now I see it differently. This moment right here is a turning point for me. I raised my glass again, steadier this time. "So here's to what might be my last family gathering." Dead silence. Ethan Parker stared at me, stunned. My mom went pale like she'd seen a ghost. All these years I've bent over backwards hoping to be noticed, appreciated, even loved. I thought helping with money would make a difference. I've been sending $2,000 every month. My mom's head jerked toward me. "What are you talking about?" "Ethan Parker doesn't send the full amount," I said, my voice softer but firm. "He only sends $400. I've been covering the rest. For 5 years. A ripple of whispers moved through the room. Ethan Parker lowered his eyes to the floor, jaw clenched. "But that stops now," I said. "Last month's payment was the last one." I let that sit in the air for a second, then added, "And there's more." My voice didn't shake. I had rehearsed this. I've kept every receipt, every record of the money I sent, every phone call. I always had this feeling that someday I'd need them. That's when my mom and Jake Thompson finally looked at each other for the first time all night. Jake Thompson's expression shifted to something close to panic. "I met with someone from the tax office yesterday," I continued. They were very interested in your returns, Jake Thompson. Especially from the last 5 years. Jake Thompson stood up fast, knocking his chair back slightly. That can't be true. It is, I said calmly, looking him right in the eye. They know the money I sent wasn't consulting income. You were using it to hide revenue and avoid taxes. My mom turned sharply toward him. What is she saying? Jake Thompson's face flushed red. I'll explain later. No, she said, her voice cracking. Tell me now. Is it true? Is what she said true? The room was dead quiet again. She looked at each face around the table as if searching for someone to deny it. This is a joke, right? She said, almost whispering. I let out a short, humorless laugh. A joke? It's about as funny as being called a parasite. I drained the rest of my wine and turned toward Ethan Parker. Oh, and Ethan Parker? I said, watching his eyes lock onto mine like a deer in headlights. The police are also looking into your real estate business. Seems like there's reason to believe you lied to investors. He went ghost white. Lily, what did you do? I told the truth, I said. I found out one of my clients, an elderly woman, lost a huge sum investing with your firm. His lips parted like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. I started digging, I went on. And I found others. People you misled. People who trusted you. I gathered everything, emails, contracts, transaction records. He pushed back his chair like he was going to stand up. I raised a hand to stop him. That's enough, I said. All the evidence has already been turned in. Investigators will be contacting you soon. I picked up my purse, slung it over my shoulder, and stood. The food was great, I said casually. Goodbye. And just like that, I walked out of the room. No dramatic exits. No glancing back. Just done. When I stepped outside, the cold air hit my face and I breathed it in like it was the first breath I'd taken in years. I got in my car, started the engine, and pulled away from the house. For once, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. A few days later, everything started unraveling exactly how I'd expected. The local news ran a segment on a real estate scam. Ethan Parker's face was right there on the screen, smiling awkwardly in a headshot while the anchor explained how he had conned elderly people into bogus investments for years. They said he used fake property evaluations and forged documents. It was all part of a calculated scheme. A week after that, the IRS launched a deeper investigation into my mom and Jake Thompson. Turns out they'd been using the money I sent as fake business income and making up expenses to dodge taxes. Then came the messages. Ethan Parker started blowing up my phone with angry texts, desperate, accusing. My mom sent me an email drenched in blame. Why did you do this? She wrote. Jake Thompson sent a message too. The kind filled with guilt and manipulation, just like I expected. Lily, what were you thinking? As your father, I gave you a home, food, paid for your education. You owe us. I never treated you badly, so why would you betray us like this? Just because you're mad at your mom? Telling the IRS was the worst thing you could have done. Even if your real dad left, how's that my fault? Whatever happens now, it's on you. I didn't reply. Not to him. Not to my mother. Not to Ethan Parker. 3 months later, the legal process wrapped up. Jake Thompson got hit with a hefty fine and a 3-year sentence, but it was a suspended one. As long as he didn't screw up again, he wouldn't go to jail. My mother wasn't found guilty, but their house was seized. Their marriage crumbled. Their reputation? Gone. People they once called friends avoided them like a virus. I watched it all unfold from a distance. And I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. It felt fair. Justice doesn't always come wrapped in courtroom drama. Sometimes it's just the quiet unraveling of people who thought they'd never be caught. A year after Ethan Parker's trial, he messaged me. Said he wanted to talk. Wanted me to visit. My first reaction? Hell no. Why sit across from the man who helped break me? But then something in me shifted. I didn't want closure. I wanted proof that he had no power over me anymore. That I could look him in the eye and feel nothing. So I went. When I saw him, I barely recognized the person I used to call my brother. He was thin, pale. That smug air of confidence he always wore was gone, replaced with something brittle and hollow. Thanks for coming, he said, voice low. What do you want, Ethan Parker? I asked, keeping my tone flat. He started, then paused, his expression tightening. I wanted to apologize. But honestly, this is all your fault, isn't it? My mouth opened slightly. Was he serious? If you hadn't gotten that big-shot finance job, he went on bitterly, I wouldn't have done any of this. Everyone always loved you for being smart. For making it. I just wanted to feel like someone too. I blinked. You're saying you became a criminal because I succeeded? Why'd I do it? He said, shrugging. Because it was easy. Because I could. Mom always had my back. She believed in me, always did. Believed in you? I said, disbelief rising. You scammed elderly people, Ethan Parker. You stole from them. They have insurance, he mumbled. They're old. They'll die soon anyway. People like me could use that money better. There was a long pause. I stared at him like I was seeing a stranger. Because I was. Lily, he said after a beat. Truth is, if you hadn't snitched, I'd still be out there. You think I betrayed you? I laughed, but it was dry and humorless. What about the years you lied to Mom? Let her believe you were the one sending the full support money. That was just a joke, he said with a weak grin. She believed it. That's not my fault. You're disgusting, I said, standing. He reached out quickly. Wait. Lily. Just wait. Look, can you lend me some cash? I need money in here. And a lawyer. Just a few hundred, please. I locked eyes with him. You still don't get it, I said quietly. This is where it ends. I don't owe you anything. Not anymore. I turned to leave. Lily, please, he shouted after me. Just a couple hundred. I swear I'll pay you back. I didn't turn around. His voice faded behind me as I stepped back into the sunlight. 6 months later, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. I wasn't expecting company. I opened the door. And there she was. My mother. She looked like a ghost of the woman I once knew. Gone were the expensive clothes, the perfectly styled hair, the tight grip on pride. Her blouse was faded and wrinkled. Her handbag looked worn and dirty. Her face, tired. So very tired. Lily, she said, her voice shaking, eyes glossy with tears. Can we talk? I stood there for a moment, unsure. Then I stepped aside and nodded toward the living room. She walked in slowly, like every step took effort. She sat down, hands trembling, and pulled a worn photo from her bag. It was me as a little girl, maybe 5 years old, holding a crayon drawing with a proud grin. She stared at it, then looked up. We've lost everything, she said softly. The house. The money. Our friends. Her eyes darted away. I need help. There's no one else. She took a shaky breath. Jake Thompson's gone. He moved out of state. I'm on my own. I was wondering if I could stay here. Just for a while. I'm looking for a job. Trying to get back on my feet. But I might need help. Financially too. Just until I figure things out. I sat across from her, silent. The woman I remembered, sharp-tongued, always in control, was nowhere to be found. All that remained was someone worn down. Her clothes were plain, her nails bitten to the quick, her shoulders hunched like she was carrying the weight of a lifetime. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally, I asked, did you ever actually care about me? She blinked. Shocked. Tears filled her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. I thought I did, she whispered. But you look so much like your father. Every time I saw you, I remembered how he left me. Ethan Parker. Ethan Parker was delicate. But you were strong. You didn't need me. Then why now? I asked quietly. Her voice cracked. Because there's no one else. I leaned forward slightly. You called me a parasite. And now you come to me. She broke. Sobbing, hands covering her face. Her whole body trembled. I'm your mother, she cried. Blood matters. I stood slowly, calm and steady. I pointed to the door. Go. Her head shot up. I won't treat you like you treated me, I said. But I'm not going to save you either. You'll have to figure this out on your own. She stared at me, disbelief, maybe even fear flickering across her face. Like she couldn't comprehend the words. Goodbye, Mom. I opened the door. She walked to it slowly. Paused in the frame. Looked like she wanted to say something. I shut the door before she could. Through the window, I watched her linger on the sidewalk. Then she wandered off, no direction in her steps. Just drifting. I didn't feel sad. Just clear. Like I had finally stepped out of a long, heavy fog. It's been 5 years since then. Everything has changed. I climbed the ladder at work and now serve as a vice president. I built new relationships, healthy, honest ones. And I created something I'm proud of, a nonprofit that helps people escape financial abuse and manipulation. I cut all ties with her, with Jake Thompson, with Ethan Parker. Sometimes I hear things. My mother rents a small apartment across the state, scrapes by on low-wage jobs. Ethan Parker is still in prison. Then one day a letter landed on my desk at work. I recognized the handwriting the second I saw it. My chest tightened, but I opened it anyway. The words were messy, rushed. Angry. Lily, I will never forget how you destroyed everything. I raised you and this is how you repay me. You've become cold, cruel. Just like your father. Ethan Parker had more heart than you ever did. It was a curse to have a daughter like you. You're soulless. You crushed my world and didn't even blink. May God punish you. Charlotte. I folded the letter neatly. Dropped it in the trash without a second thought. Because the past doesn't own me anymore. There's no need to look back. This is my life now, rooted in truth, shaped by survival, and built on the strength they never gave me. I made it out. And I'm free.